everyone, it's your girl Gel Beauty 87 here, and today we're gonna get into ranking some of my favorite formulas of eyeshadow from indie brands, influencer brands, and black owned brands. So I got black owned brands as far as like the higher price end, and then the affordable ones obviously I will put where they should be put. But this should be a long video, so I hope you are ready to hear about all I got to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. So I put Dose of Colors in here because as far as I was told, that's a makeup artist brand. So I want to start off with the makeup artist, then we're going to go into the actual influencer brands, and then I'll go into the black owned brands, and I'll end with my favorite just indie brands. So I have the start off with Makeup by Mario. Y'all know I love me some Makeup by Mario. This is my first time trying his mattes in the quads, because if y'all know, I wasn't gonna buy that boring matte palette. It wasn't happening. That was dead. So this is what it looks like on the inside. I pulled out the bronzy one because I'm like, I know he's known for these type of tones, so I figured that would be the easy one to show. Plus I felt like this was the easiest one to use, but in all fairness, it's easy to blend out browns. It's easy to blend out those, and you know, like the blue one, which of course is my favorite one, Party Girl. But this is Bronzy Girl. Sorry, Bronzy Glam. That was called Party Glam, but I like the formula of these. I think his matte formula is fine. I think his shimmer formula is fine. And I love the price of these squads because they were 25 bucks, and then you get the 20% off on the Sephora, which meant they were only 20 bucks. Now I bought the set from his website for I think like 60 something, so I had already saved the money off on them. And I wasn't sure if they was gonna come to Sephora, but I'm glad I, you know, got them, and I'm happy to have it in my collection, and I will be using it from time to time when I feel like in the mood for that type of shadow. So the next one I have is another makeup artist brand. I have Dose of Colors. So y'all know Friendcation is like one of my all-time favorite collabs of all time. Desi and Katie did that. Like this shade A Moment Alone, and then what is the shade Dirty Money. These are my two favorite ones. I like to use the black one on occasion, and then like the red one. I don't know, I don't like the Just a Kiss shade. I don't know what it is, but this shade just doesn't appeal to me at all. But overall, I like the palette. Y'all know there's a couple of shades in here that will never be used by me, but you know, overall the palette is nice enough to where it's like I can appreciate it. I love it, and I love the formula that's in this one. I like the regular formula in general though, which is why I pulled out one of the regular formula palettes. This is my favorite one, which is called Pretty Cool. Y'all know I love me a cool tone moment. So what I'll usually do is I'll use this one, and then I'll go in with the shade Teal Me More. It's really similar to that shade A Moment when I don't want to grab for that palette and use like warm tones. I want to use cool tones. I'll take this shade on the outer V, then I'll dust like probably like this one or this one over the top of that, and then I'll take Teal Me More and just put it on the lid, and you know, have me a nice little moment. Or I might take a purple or whatever tone I feel like taking at the time. I'll grab a single and put with this palette, and then it'll magically just be like the palette of my dreams. Because although this is really powdery, I feel like it gives good payoff, and it blends out quite nicely and easily. So the last makeup artist brand I have to talk about is Mac Daddy, honey. Mac Daddy be out here killing it, doing it with life. So this is the Supreme Nudes palette from Artist Couture. This is my favorite one of the two that he has. I didn't get a chance to get the other one he had. I think it was called Maven or something like that. It's really similar to an influencer palette that I owned already, so I was like, I already knew the formula of that brand, so I just took a chance on that one. But I was willing to try this one, especially because everybody kept talking about it, and they were talking about it for a reason. Like the formula on this is really, really nice, and the color story of this is really nice because it has my favorite shade, I believe, is the shade Opulence. And y'all know I don't really go for tones like this, but it's something about the formula of this shade that I think is just wonderful. And every time I use this palette, I have to use this one. And you think I would go for this shade right here, but no, I'm always trying to go for this one, and then maybe like this dark brown on the outer V, and then like this brown in the crease. So like my signature look with this palette would be this, this, and this, just because I love the way it turns out. And then sometimes I'll put the green in the inner corner, but the majority of the time I'll take this one and put it in the inner corner. So I don't really even reach for the green in here, as weird as that is. But I need to more often, but I need to use this palette more often. But y'all know I got so many palettes, so child, God only knows. But I love this palette right here, and that's why it's in here, because it's one of my favorite formulas from one of my favorite brands. Now let's get into some influencer brands. So this one I tried recently. I gave y'all a tutorial on IG this year, or it might have been last year with this palette. This is the ShanXO Heaps of Sweets palette. I have been wanting to try her brand for a while because I've watched her videos and I liked her BH Cosmetics collab, so I wanted to try her brand herself and see how it went. This is what the palette looks like on the inside. Y'all know I'm not really for this side right here, the more neutrally toned side, but I really love the purple side. I'm gonna try to give y'all a look with the neutral tone side though eventually, just so we can tried the quality of those. The only one I've tried over here is Brownie, and I thought that was pretty nice, but the purple side just calls to my name. But I like the fact that she gave you neutrals just in case you're not a purple person, so you can try out the purples and mix them in with some neutral color that you're more comfortable with. The formula on this is really nice. I will say though, I do not like the native palette, spoiler alert, because I don't know when y'all gonna see this, but I already filmed a video with the native palette and I wasn't impressed with it. I didn't like it. I recommend this Heaps of Sweet palette, but I do not recommend that one. So yeah, they should be at the front door. Anyway, the next palette I have is from, what's his name? Manny MUA. So the Lunar Beauty Strawberry Dreams palette. I have been loving this palette. When I first got it, I heard Lily Living Life talking about how it was hard to blend, and that's what kind of made me eerie of getting it. But I truly do love this palette, and I was happy to get it, especially at a discount. I got mine at Sephora for I forgot how much it was, $20 something, and it was still, and I grabbed it immediately. Now my shade right here the best shade ended up getting crushed. This was when the pandemic first started, but I really love this palette overall. Like my favorite row is probably like the bottom one, then I take the middle one. I mean, but overall this whole palette just looks really nice, and I was quite impressed with the quality of it, to the point where I actually went and bought another one. Now I'm iffy on getting the Eclipse one, just because it's like, you know, a neutral palette with a row of pop of blue for me to make it smoky, and it's like I got plenty of stuff like that, so it's not an essential thing to me. So I don't think I'll rush out and get it. If I can catch it on sale, then I'll probably add it to my collection, just because I know the formula is going to be really nice. But this is my favorite one, and then I probably pick the Moon Spell secondly, and then go on with my day. So those are my favorite ones. This is my favorite one from Manny MUA's line so far. Okay, so I have two palettes from one of my all-time favorite YouTuber brands. Of course, that would be Dominique Cosmetics. So Berries and Cream and Celestial Storm are the ones I like the best. And this is one reason I told y'all I didn't buy the first Artist Couture palette, because Kirsten had a palette that was really similar to it. Like his palette had like colors like this and this, and I think this pink and this darker shade, if I remember correctly, and then it had like a brown like this, and then I think it was like a shimmery shade like this. And I knew Kirsten had the same color story, and I know I love her palettes, and you all seem to love when I review them. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and get Kirsten's palette, just because I love Kirsten so much, and I really loved the color story of her palette, and this palette performs really well. I heard that there were mixed thoughts about this palette, which I don't understand, because the formula of it is just fine, and I really love it. And then I heard there mixed thoughts about this palette too, the Berries and Cream, and this is like, before Celestial Storm came out, this was like my Kirsten Dominique palette. I used to use this thing so much. Like when I did Valentine's Day looks one year, I made sure I used this palette, and then I think I used I'm trying to remember the other palette I used. I don't exactly remember, but I know for sure I used this one, just because I love the color story of this so much. I feel warm romantic vibes with this, and y'all know I'm not really into berry tones and wine colored things. I don't know if it's the pop of blue that really makes me excited about this palette, or this really light or berry tone over here, because I feel like that's something different that you don't normally see in berry palettes. But because it's called Berries and Cream, I guess that's how she got away with putting this shade in there. And since a blueberry is a shade, obviously she could put the blue in there. And if you say anything about berries, where there are blueberries. So I really like the tones in this palette. I really like the formula of this palette. I love this palette. Like if I had to pick like top 5 of my palettes of influence, I would definitely say that these two are in the running for sure, because I love those palettes. Now let's get into some black owned brand palettes. So these are just a couple of black owned brands that are indie brands that I really like the formula of their stuff. So this is OPV Beauty Spotlight palette. I love this thing so much. Like to me, this is what I wanted the Born to Run palette from Urban Decay to look like. Now I do like the Born to Run formula better than I like the formula of this one, but I love the color story of this a million times better. So even though I like the formula of Urban Decay better, I still reach for this palette more, just because I feel like they did a way better job with the color story. Like they have a nice little warm tone section over here, and then they have a nice little cool tone section over here, and I just love the way they devised the color story of their palette. Along with the shimmers in here, a million times more impactful than the ones in the Urban Decay palette. So if you do not have this palette, I don't know why. They just had a sale recently where it was like 25 bucks. I think that's when I bought mine, when it was 25 bucks. But I really like the color story and the formula of this palette, and I think you should definitely get your hands on it. If you want to try a new black owned brand, OPV Beauty is definitely the one. So definitely go pick that palette up. The next one I have is the Colored Rain. This is one of my favorite Colored Rain palettes. This is Safari Rain. Both the palettes I like from Colored Rain are discontinued, so I just decided to pick the newer of the discontinued palettes. This is the Safari Rain, like I said, the color story of this is amazing. Now y'all know I don't care about the top of this palette. I'm all about the greens and the smoky tones at the bottom, but I appreciate the fact that they gave you some warm tones just in case on occasion I might want to use some warm tones, because I could take this on vacation. Y'all know I got my pops of color for in the daytime and when I want to be extra. Then I got my smoky tones for when I have a smoky eye look for date night or dinner, and then I have my daytime looks over here at the top, the orange and green. Now this has been discontinued, but I think they still had a bundle where you can buy all the shimmers of this, and I definitely suggest that you check it out and try it, because I really like it, and I definitely think you should add it to your arsenal. It is great. If you can get the singles still, go ahead and get them, because I heard they're not going to make singles anymore or sell singles anymore, and there's a single I want from them so bad. It's called Gumby, but I think it might have already sold out, because like since I don't use singles that often, I don't think about going to grab them, but that was the like one to me that stuck out that I really liked and I really wanted. Okay y'all, so I got cut off when I was in the middle of talking about Milk, and I don't know where I got cut off, so I'm gonna start on the second palette, because I think you got Smoke Sessions. I don't know. Matter of fact, we'll just start off again. So I got the Smoke Sessions palette here from Milk, because I consider Milk indie, even if no one else does. I know they're in Sephora, but I just see them as an indie brand, mainly because of the color stories they do and the uniqueness of the brand as a whole. I just feel like they deserve to stay in their indie spot, even though they are a more mainstream indie brand. So I love this palette. I feel like whenever Milk makes a palette, they just personify me in a palette. Like for example, this palette. This is one version of Milk personifying me in a palette, depending on what my mood is. Like, because if I have to do a more daytime appropriate smoky look, because no matter what the look is, FYI, it's gonna be smoky if it's for me. So this is like my daytime appropriate smoky look, because I can put this in the outer V and in the crease, and then we can put this bright gold on here, so that would be a lighter tone for the daytime. And then I can put like one of these in the inner corner, or I can put one of these on the lid and put this in the inner corner. Then when I want to be extra and bold with my bright colors, I have this to put on the outer V and in the crease. Then I can choose between these two. Like I'd probably put these two, like this toward the back of the lid, this toward the front. And then we can put this in the inner corner. And yes, honey, there you go. There's a look right there. How you doing? So Milk just gets me when it comes to palettes, because this is me personified in a like warm tone, sorry, not warm tone, a grungy, like neutral toned and still colorful palette. And then we have the Morte palette. Morte is just, honey, I feel so bad for people who didn't get it. Y'all should just bust it out one more time, like surprise. On 420, instead of giving us the weed palette, just bust it out and be like, surprise, we brought Morte and Vita back for one day only, and how many we got is how many you can buy, and that's it. But make sure it's only one limit per person to be able to buy one of each palette, so that everybody can come back and buy one. But yes, another way that Milk personified me in a palette. Y'all know I love my blues, my greens, my purples. I'll occasionally do reds, but this section here is more of my tones. For example, again, we got some more of these. So you can pair this palette with the Smoke Sessions palette when you want more color out of it. See? Because you got this darker one, and then you got this darker one. So if you want a lighter, darker tone, you could use this, and then you can use this in the crease, and then you could put this color on the lid and then pop this one in the inner corner. So see, they just be thinking about all of it. And then with this one, they got me a little blue section right here. You know, I can use my nice little dark gray on the outer V. I can put this blue all over the lid, and then I can have this as an inner corner shimmer, or pop this on top of the navy blue matte and then put this in the inner corner too. So I feel like Milk just thinks of everything that I could do in a palette. And this is the one time I can get creative and have a whole bunch of different ideas about palettes. It's usually with my Milk palettes, just because I feel like the color stories they choose are just the colors that I like to use all the time. So I'm easily inspired to come up with a whole bunch of different looks. Then with the red situation, again, outer V, crease, pat this all over the lid, put this in your inner corner, or put this on the outer V in the crease, and then put this on your lid. See, like they just have so many wonderful ideas for you to come up with palettes. And I'm just going based upon the little sections that they have the colors brought off in, but you can do it whatever way you want. But I feel like they just come up with wonderful color stories that always exude me as a person. So to me, this is another version of me in a palette, and Milk just always gets it right for me. So last, we have the Recently Deceased, and I had to make sure I grabbed this. I wasn't gonna take a chance of trying to get it on Sephora, and then it ran out. So as soon as they launched, I had an alarm set for 12 o'clock. I was not playing. So I love the detail that goes into this, like this acrylic cases. I hope they do this more often, because I feel like this case is just everything, and it exudes coolness. And I feel like that's one thing they are. They always edgy and cool. So this is what the inside of this palette looks like, and I feel like this is another palette I can put with the Smoke Sessions palette, because see, that side I talked about before, you can pair this side right here with the top greens in here, and then if you're like a blue purple girl like I am, you can put this purple part down here with this little blue section right here and have you a nice little look. So I feel, because I feel like this dark purple isn't enough for the outer V for someone with my skin tone, and I feel like it's too close to this tone. So what I would do is go into this palette right here and just take this like navy blue shade right here and put that on the outer V, and then you can put this dark purple in the crease, dust the lighter purple on top, and then pick one of those purple shimmers and put that on the lid. So see, like, I'm up here just being all type inspired by every melt palette I own and finding ways to put all of them together and make them look nice, just because I feel like melt inspires me to do that, and I'm really inspired when it comes to eyeshadow looks. Y'all know I keep plain, basic, same few looks, but with melt palettes, I'm always inspired to do more. But since I always have to try new palettes out for videos, I don't always get a chance to. But I'm trying to get more into, you know, giving y'all Instagram looks, and then that way I can use more of my melt palettes and other palettes that I am occasionally inspired by and do different looks. So last, we're gonna get to all of my indie palettes. Like, these are the true indie brands that, you know, like Kaleidos and Give Me Glow and Shroud Cosmetics and, you know, Sydney Grace and Menagerie and Midas and Nomad. Brands like that that truly I feel are indie. Because I do feel like Melt is indie just because of their innovation, their color stories, and the difference between them and all the other brands. But like, these are brands that aren't in anybody's store. Like, you have to go to their website and buy it, else you ain't finna get that palette type brand. So that's why I'm putting them last, just because I feel like they are truly what people consider indie, if you will. So let's get started with those. So I'm going to start off with Nomad Cosmetics. So I tried Nomad Cosmetics for the first time last year. I had wanted to try the brand for a while, but they didn't have a lot of palettes that I was into. The only palette they had I wanted was, of course, the Tokyo palette. You know, the one that wouldn't work well for my skin tone because it's pastels. So when I saw this one, and then I saw KK rave about how nice it was, I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance. And then Karen Harris talked about how much she liked it. And I was like, okay, I hear you. I hear you. Okay. So then I was like, I'll go ahead and try it out. So with this one, I decided I was going to get this, and I found it on a great deal because I think this is like $54, so it's kind of high for indie. But I found a girl selling it on Poshmark for $25, so I went ahead and grabbed it up, and I am so glad that I did, because I love the look I came up with it with. I want to do some more looks with it, but y'all know I always get a new palette in. Like, I'm trying to think, do I have any more palettes coming in right now? I actually don't think I have any new palettes coming in right now. Then watch 20 minutes later, somebody drops the palette on Instagram and I have to go check. But yeah, I want to do some more looks with this, so I'm going to try to remember to keep this out and do another look with it. I had it sitting in my grandmother's house for a while, but because of the whole incident with somebody trying to break in while I was there, I try not to leave stuff there. Thus, we film on the camera now because I would have left it there if they hadn't done that. But the next indie brand I'm going to get into, so I guess I'll get into all the ones I tried this year. So I tried Sydney Grace for the first time this year. I bought the single bundle that what's her name was talking about, what Mel Thompson was talking about prior to getting her palette. So I had filmed that video first, and then I put this video up first. So I'm sure people were confused, like, what do you mean you trying Sydney Grace for the first time when the Mel Thompson video is already up? But I had tried that bundle first, and then I found out Mel's palette, and then I bought it, and I figured you care about her palette more than you would care about me trying some singles for the first time. So that's why I put this one up. So this palette, I love the formula on. It's just the color story to me is somewhat interesting, but I will say I am so glad I have this palette in my collection, because this palette pairs extremely well for people my skin tone with the Trio Chrome palette from Natasha Denona. Because I don't know what's going on with the mattes in there, but they ain't working for nobody that look like me. Like, I don't know what Natasha was thinking. Like, these 3 Trio Chromes, I could have bought the 3 liquid Trio Chrome versions of those and just use Mel's palette and been better off in my personal opinion, because they don't really give that much flip. Scarab gives a lot of flip, but you know, this is a Scarab. There are other Scarabs, and you know, they give better flips and they don't cost nearly as much. So I'm glad to have this in my collection because I love Mel, and because her palette is essential for me to be able to use my Trio Chrome palette that I knew I had to review for y'all in a YouTube video. So this is one of my favorite finds as far as formulas in the indie brand community in 2020. Now let's get into the Midas Cosmetics palette. So I got this Midas Cosmetics X Smoky Glow palette because I saw Lily Living Life do a look with it, and after I saw her, I think she did 3 looks 1 palette, and after I saw her looks, I was like, yes please, I need it. It gives me perfect romantic vibes. Like, it, to me, it's my indie brand version of the Natasha Denona Love palette, which is actually what's on my eyes right now. But I feel like I could almost make this same look with this palette, because there's this darker shimmery shade right here that I can use on the outer V. Then there's you know, this red shade right here that I could just put all over the lid. It is brighter than the other one. And then I used the Super Shock Shadow for my inner corner and on my lid And you know, that pretty much was the look. So I could definitely use this palette and recreate that look. I'm actually thinking about using this. I think I used this as a Valentine's Day look palette last year, so I don't think I'll do it again this year unless you all want to see it, because I was thinking of doing 2 affordable ones, 2 luxury ones, and then give y'all 2, maybe like 1 high-end one or something like that, because I would love to use the Amarithi palette for that. I think I used that this year as well. I don't remember, or maybe I used it for Sweetest Day, whatever. The point is, I really like this palette. It's a great addition to my collection, and it helped me to try Midas Cosmetics and find out how wonderful their formula is. So I want to get their Artistry 2 palette. That's the green grungy tone one. I just heard Karen talk about it. I'm like, yes, please give it to me. I need it. So those are just some of the brands I tried out this year. I retried a brand in 2020. I don't know why I keep saying this year like I'm still in 2020. I thank God I haven't been delivered. I am not anymore. So I got 2 palettes from Najri Cosmetics, and they actually, if you all don't check on Instagram, they found out they had some more Violet ink in their warehouse. They had, I think, 100 of them left in a box. So if you want to get that palette, you need to definitely get on it. I'm gonna try to make sure this video goes up on that day, because I think at 12 o'clock on January the 29th is when they're supposed to be making sure that goes out. So I'm gonna try to make sure this one goes out instead of the luxury video first, so that you all can get that information out there. Or I might put an Instagram post when I post that video. I don't know. Anyway, this is Killer Purr. I bought this one and that one. I had originally tried this brand a while ago. I had bought the Feral palette when they had changed the shade in it to try it out. I wasn't as fond of that palette then. I might rebuy it now that I have got better at eyeshadow, to be honest. But I really like the color story of this one. I like the fact that they gave me these pops of color like that I like I like this green, and of course y'all know I like this shade right here. I wasn't that fond of this shade, but it didn't work that well for someone my skin tone for obvious reasons. But overall I feel like the palette is pretty nice. The only thing is I felt like the shimmers were like weren't as shimmery and pigmented as I thought they were gonna be when I swatched them as opposed to them on my eyes. I don't know why I'm giving y'all a review when, you know, I got a whole video coming up on it, but those are my thoughts on it. Otherwise, I was quite impressed with it. More impressed than I was the first go round when I tried them. So I'm happy about that. The next palette I have is the... Okay, so the last palette... let me see. The last palette I know that I talked about is... Shroud Cosmetics. Now, this is the Arcana palette. I told y'all that I like this palette because it's more jewel tones. So you got your cool shady jewel tones on this side, and then you got like your more warm tones, jewel tones on this side, and I feel like it's just a great addition to my collection. I bought this when they had the 3 for $99 sale going on, so they were $33 a piece. So the other 2 are at my grandmother's house, the Creepy Cute and the Divinity palette. But yeah, I really liked this palette. And about my It's Freaking Bats palette, they said Betty Jean just approved the machine press one, so I will be getting machine press palette. It won't be hand pressed like this palette is, so we'll see how well that goes. I will give y'all an Instagram tutorial on it, but I'm not gonna make a dedicated YouTube video for it just because I feel like it came out so long ago and I still don't have it, so it's not get the YouTube video. Anyway, the next palette I have is the Give Me Glow Cosmetics Christmas Morning palette. This is my favorite Give Me Glow palette. Like, this shade Gifts Galore is everything. And I feel like where this brand shines is definitely their shimmer formula. I'm not that crazy about their matte formula. Sometimes I feel like it's quite difficult to blend out, and you have to take a lot of effort and do a little blending at a time to get the effect and look you want. And that's fine, but it's like their shimmers shine. So if you just want to buy some shimmers from this brand, I definitely think you should. You should get the single shimmers from them. It's great, but my favorite shade is the shade Gifts Galore, but there's a similar shade in Mel Thompson's palette to this shade. So if you're like me, you're not trying to buy from them right now because of some of the recent things you heard in the Fancy Faces video, then you can go ahead and buy the shade Scurb from Sydney Grace, and it's going to give you the same effect that one does. That one just looks a little bit wetter, but I mean, like, you can wet your brush and get it to that intensity. So this is a nice palette. I'm not gonna say don't get it. They had like a whole little bundle, I heard, or something, where it had like lip products in it or something like that. So I mean, you should check out the brand because they do have nice shimmers, but I'm just not gonna like willingly represent the brand. The last palette I have is the Kaleidos Futurism 3 Astro Pink palette. This is what it looks like on the inside. This is my favorite Kaleidos palette. Like, I have my signature look I do with this palette. I always take this shade on the outer V. I like to put this one in the on the lid, and I take this and put it in the inner corner. Like, this palette is just my favorite, and sometimes I dust this shade over the top of that purple one just to make it look a little more nicely blended than it actually is. No shame in my game, but This is like my favorite Kaleidos palette. I like the Lunar Lavender as well. This is the packaging it comes inside. I thought it was really nice, so I kept it. And I don't even keep packaging. This is what it looks like. I like this palette a lot. I'm sorry if you can hear my mom and my grandmother in the kitchen laughing. I don't know what's going on in there, but this is what it looks like on the inside. This one doesn't perform as well as Astro Pink does. I mean, I still like the formula and the shimmers still work nicely. It's just, I feel like the mattes don't perform as well as in this palette and in the Escape Pod palette. But I still recommend it just because, I mean, it's still good quality. It's just not exceptional quality like the Astro Pink palette is. So those are all of my favorite formulas from my favorite indie and black owned brands. I'm finally done after all this time, y'all, and I'm ready to go to bed because it is 3:26 in the afternoon. And if you all don't remember, I work at night, so I've been up for a while because my mom had to go run errands and do other things, so I had to stay up and do that. So I'm gonna go get something to eat, wash all this crap off, and then try to take me a 3 or 4 hour nap because I gotta get up at 7:30 and take my ass to work. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.